All right. How's it going, Chase?
Pretty good. It's been a long week with Players Cup and everything going on, but it's pretty good now. I can't wait to see what type of games we're going to get today.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just gonna try and verify we've got this game feed coming in here, but we're gonna have Hagen here with the White Tigers. We've got the teams there below. There we go. Now we've got the live feed. I'm gonna go ahead and give them the all clear, and we can start talking about these teams. What do you think so far?
Yeah, so I know Tigers and I were kind of working together on Dragonite plus Faramosa with like the speed swap and the coaching and like all this different stuff. But he kind of took it a different direction, and outside of Dragonite and Faramosa, I'm not exactly sure what the team does, and I'm really interested to see.
Yeah, for sure. From Hagen's side, I think we're seeing some interesting stuff here with two of the probably most used Pokemons we've seen so far in this Series 7, where we've got Regieleki alongside the Tapu Fini.
And as we can see from the team preview, we have like the Tornadus plus the Urshifu with the Choice Band on the Urshifu, giving you a lot of damage output without even needing to Dynamax turn 1 with a Tailwind and Wicked Blow or a Tailwind in a close combat. Something that could be potentially very difficult for Tigers' team to deal with.
Yeah, for sure. It looks like there are multiple forms of self-proc here with that Tornadus. Probably going to be carrying Brutal Swing, and you could even go for the Urshifu play of might do a little bit more damage than you want, but a Sucker Punch into your own Metagross to go ahead and proc that weakness policy with
Yeah,
priority.
I would guess that one's a little bit dangerous to go for.
We've
And
seen crazier things, right? A Moonblast into your own Tyranitar from a Tapu Fini.
it is true. Although I'm not sure you want to take a banded Sucker Punch, even if it is like even if you have plus boosted defenses at that point. But I mean, we see they immediately lock in, and we're getting ready to start.
Yeah, these two players know what they want to do with these teams. I know that Tigers used this team this past weekend in the Barbados tournament that I know both Tigers and then one of our later battlers, Night Charisma, also participated in. So right off the bat here, we're going to get to see this Pheromosa Dragonite pairing. Some really exciting stuff alongside, a shiny Regieleki and this Torn.
I didn't get to see, was that shiny Regieleki in a cool ball, like a quick ball or something of the sort? Because if so, that would be the hardest thing to hunt for that I can imagine.
Yeah, I missed what ball it came in, but we will probably see that, I imagine, here throughout the rest of the match. Probably going to see some tempo here, maybe going for a Volt Switch, or at the very least switching out at one point or another. This Dragonite here feels like it's exerting some decent pressure. You do have to worry about that Regieleki hitting you for neutral and being able to drop your speed, though, with an Electro Web.
Yeah, the one nice thing here is that Pheromosa does have access to both Electro Web and Icy Wind, giving it speed control of its own, along with the max Airstream from the Dragonite, which I presume is what's going to be Dynamaxing right here.
Yeah, so here we go. We do see the Dragonite here on turn 1, no surprises, likely going to be supported by either a combination of coaching or speed swap from this Pheromosa. Really helps up this Dragonite's damage output as well as its speed. So we see the Tailwind come out from the Torn, getting access to that priority Tailwind here, and Regieleki just opting for a Reflect right here, going for a more supportive move as opposed to damage or speed control.
Yeah, and we immediately see the coaching afterwards into this Dragonite, and from the Dragonite itself with the +1 attack and defense, we see actually a max lightning into the tornado.
Bringing it down to presumably that Focus Sash. Or is this a Phantom Focus Sash? No, it is in fact the Focus Sash that procced. Getting the critical hit there to add a little insult to injury. I don't quite think that crit mattered in terms of getting it down to its Focus Sash.
Yeah, I would tend to think it doesn't matter, but something interesting here now is that we have this Dragonite at +1/+1, and the Pheromosa still has its Sash intact, potentially giving it a chance at another coaching, or predicting maybe the taunt from this Tornadus, going for an Ice Wind, or just a direct attack, and then taking out both Pokemon this turn.
Yeah, for sure. So I think this could be really interesting. Knowing that the Pheromosa is likely sashed, you're going to want to either double it up or try and restrict its utility here with the taunt. So we see the Volt Switch come out here to go ahead and break that Sash, actually bring the Pheromosa down to Sash. Pheromosa not really known for its defensive capabilities.
Yeah, as we see the Regieleki switch out into this Tapu Fini here, potentially taking a max move. either Tapu Fini or Metagross probably wouldn't feel too great about taking even a not very effective max move from a +1 Dragonite at this point.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll see here what Tigers opted to do with that Pheromosa. If he opted to go ahead and attack and take down the Torn here into a double up with this Dragonite, might look pretty nice as long as it's not a Max Wormend into that Tapu Fini.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and it about the worst turn of events for Tigers it could have happened, as the coaching will go ahead and not activate because of the taunt, and the Max Wormend into a Tapu Fini doing absolutely no damage.
One nice thing about that, though, for Tigers is the fact that now there's no free switch in to the Metagross, potentially getting the Brutal Swing and Weakness Policy off into one turn, while Tailwind is up, and you now have a chance to take out the Tornadus before it can get the Brutal Swing off. But really, other than that, it was not a great turn if you're Tigers.
Yeah, not really what you want to see, especially now with this Pheromosa being slower under Tailwind than all of these Pokemon, down to its Sash. It's really threatened and can't do a whole lot else. It really needed to attack that last turn. Rather than go for the second coaching.
Mm-hmm. And then something maybe for a game 2 that Tigers should consider is prioritizing getting max Airstream boosts, as we see the Tornadoes air slashing to pick off this Pheromosa.
Yep, and the pivot of the Tapu Fini out into the Regieleki here, drawing out that Max Lightning here from Tigers. That Max Lightning at +1, only doing about 40% as a resisted hit. With the Reflect up, kind of putting in a lot of work there for Hagen.
Yeah, and really at this point, Tigers' Dynamax is up, I believe, this turn, and Hagen still has all 4 Pokemon left and Dynamax left. So it's going to be a pretty difficult situation here, beating a Dynamax T-Tran with a Calm Mind Tapu Fini at its side.
Yeah, for sure. Not to mention the fact that this Tailwind is, I believe, this might be the last turn of Tailwind, so you have to prioritize KOing it if you want to deny that Metagross in the back a Tailwind.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a very difficult job from here on out, especially now with the second screen up, with light screen going up from the Regieleki. It's going to be pretty difficult from here on out.
Yeah, we see Torn go for the Air Slash here, and looks like Tigers is trying to make a prediction into that Regieleki, opting for a Thunder Punch, but the combination of Thunder Punch plus Heat Wave is going to be enough, even through that light screen that was set this last turn. That Heatran, I know a little bit about that Heatran because it's actually my Heatran that I traded Tigers to use this weekend for the tournament.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, it was one of the ones that I hunted back in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon looking for 0 attack ones,
So knowing that it's your Heatran, do you know what the item is, perchance? Do you know if it's a Shukaberry Heatran, potentially giving it an out here against this Metagross?
I don't actually know the item here because I just traded it to him as a Heatran without a mint or any bottle caps. So he kind of took it from there and is using it. So not quite sure what it's going to be here. It could be Shukaberry, which would be really big for Tigers in this case, and being able to live one Max Quake from this Metagross and be able to deal back some damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we could see any combination of moves at this point as well. We could see the Quake from the Metagross, we could see the Steel Spike from the Metagross into the Dragonite. Fini's pretty free to go for either a Moonblast or a Calm Mind. And we'll just have to see what this Heatran chooses to do as it switches out.
Opting to bring in the Gastrodon right here, perhaps trying to draw out a Muddy Water from this Tapu Fini, trying to get the special attack boosts, and trying to deny a big max. What is the max ground move? How did I just blank right there? Max Quake, yes, of course, Max Quake. Sorry about that, folks. I'm also losing my voice as we're doing this. So we see another Dragonite Thunder Punch here into that Tapu Fini, doing some pretty good damage, doing about 50%. Still only at +1 from the coaching boost. Here we see the Max Quake that I forgot the name of go into the Gastrodon, only doing about 40%, but that's pretty good chip onto that Gastrodon.
Yeah, and one thing to note is with these special defense boosts and the Misty Terrain being up, there's really no way for this Gastrodon to get through this Metagross.
Yeah, for sure. So we see Hagen not fall for the bait, not going for a Muddy Water here, just opting to go ahead and remove that Dragonite from the field with a Moonblast.
Mm-hmm. And something interesting we potentially could see here is Joe UX9, when running Gastrodon, was running Acid Armor Gastrodon as a way to beat late game Metagross, because you Acid Armor to bring your defenses higher than its attack, and then kind of wall it out with recover until everything is like all of Misty Terrain is done and everything. And then you can either burn it or you can Earth Power it, depending on what moves you have on the set or what you're going for. But that's like the one out at this point, I would say.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I have not seen that tech in action, but knowing Joe ran it, it's got to be pretty good.
Yeah.
So we see here the Heatran go ahead and go for the Protect, perhaps revealing whether or not it is in fact Shucka Berry. Oh, and it is Shucka Berry. It's going to go ahead and use that Shucka Berry here on the Protect turn, so trying to stall out as much damage as possible from this Metagross.
Mm-hmm. And still, that's like 20 to 25% through Protect.
Yeah.
I would say it was probably a roll to survive without protecting, but at this point, even if you don't protect, are you going to Heat Wave and Misty Terrain, not getting a chance to get a burn and proccing the weakness policy on this Metagross?
Yep, we see the Moonblast here into the Gastrodon, go ahead and drop it down into the red. It is going to get some recovery back with that Citrus Berry, not a ton. It's going to go for the Scald. I guess it's just the best move that it's got right there. And with that Misty Terrain, Metagross is completely protected, and Tigers is in a pretty rough spot right here.
Yeah, at this point, Tigers is pinned into a position where there's really no return. Even like a double Protect here wouldn't do that much, because given the damage it did on the last turn, it would do about 50% through Protect. And yeah, at this point, it's all but time for the Gastrodon to get KO'd and move on to game 2.
Yep, we see the Max Quick there into the Heatran, enough to go and pick up the KO, unsurprising based off of the damage we saw last time. And now this is not on top of, this Gastrodon being so low in health, it's also facing down a +3 Spadef on that Metagross, not really being in a position where it's going to be able to take any KOs.
Yeah. And potentially an interesting thing that Tigers could have done that last turn, knowing that the game was pretty wrapped up, would be Earth Powering the Metagross just to make sure that it's weakness policy. Assume probably that it is. And even then, going for Protect would have been the smartest move for Heatran, because it wouldn't reveal the speed tiers between the Heatran and the Metagross, knowing which is faster and which is slower.
Yeah, for sure. So here we see the Moonblast, just enough to go ahead and pick up the KO on that Gastrodon. I'm seeing in chat right now, DJ Prime making some really good points in terms of perhaps trying to prioritize the max airstreams from that Dragonite, trying to get some momentum and offset some of the tailwind pressures.
Mm-hmm. I would tend to agree. I think something like a Coaching plus an Airstream is probably smart turn 1, or even potentially knowing that, because I'm almost positive that this Pheromosa contains one of those spread speed dropping moves, potentially an Airstream plus an Icy Wind turn 1, because then you can even eliminate the Tailwind before it gets up if they choose to get greedy and taunt. But other than that, that would be like the one way to get through this team, because you really have to get into a position where Dragonite can beat the Metagross, and it's very difficult to do with the speeds not being in your favor, and all of Hagen's Pokemon being able to take out Tigers' support Pokemon before they can do anything.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a rough team matchup here, it looks like, for Tigers. Hey, thanks for the follow, Alcremie for president. I endorse that message.
I do too.
Alcremie would be a great president. So here, I think for Tigers, for sure, it's definitely gonna be about the adjustments that he makes. He can continue to try this. I'm curious, what is that Indeedee doing? Is perhaps maybe bringing that in the back as a means of burning the Metagross by being able to swap out the terrain and remove the Misty Terrain? That's one possibility. Or even an Indeedee next to an Amoonguss is not super offensive, but you do start putting some sleep pressure on.
Yeah, I think that'd be very interesting. I think the Indeedee's probably Choice Scarf, knowing that originally there was a Tapu Lele that was Choice Scarfed on this slot. Other than that, I'm not particularly sure what it could possibly be doing. Maybe it's like an Imprison Trick Room Imprison Indeedee. Potentially it's like After You plus, or Expanding Force, obviously Expanding Force, but it'll be interesting to see if it comes into play.
Yeah, might be helpful in terms of removing that Feeney's terrain. Also, Charisma pointing out in the chat that it could be there to stop the Fake Out on Pheromosa as well.
That is also true. That's a very good point. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see with no Fake Out on Hagen's team. Maybe it just doesn't come, knowing that it's probably not the best matchup for it.
Yeah, so we see here the same leads coming out from Tigers, feeling confident in this lead, maybe just a tweak in the adjustment of how it's done. We see the exact same lead from Hagen with the exception of switching the Regieleki and Tornadus on opposite sides of the field. So, did you happen to catch the ball it was in?
I missed it again.
We'll have to ask afterwards. But we'll see here what these two players might want to go ahead and go for. Knowing after the last game, Tiger should have seen, based on the amount of turns that Reflect was up, that this is a light clay on the Regieleki. So knowing that, what do you think, knowing that it's likely going to want to go for this Reflect on turn 1, what do you think your play is if you're Tigers?
It's very... switching out Dragonite was not what I was going to say, but it's a very interesting play here. We do see the Indeedee come in, potentially switching the terrains.
Oh, that also blocks Taunt from Tornadus.
Interesting.
Because now with Psychic Terrain up, the Pheromosa is now protected from taunts.
Although I'm not sure you really want to coaching your Indeedee, I would say.
we do see the Icy Wind here to go ahead and drop the speed stat. And now potentially a switch back into Tyranitar and coaching could be an interesting play.
Yeah, the Dragonite being able to get the coaching boost off, now a little bit delayed from the Reflect, would be interesting. The one issue is anytime you're using Hyper Offense, if you don't have a fast way through screens, you kind of get stalled out.
Yeah.
And Pheromosa Dragonite is about as Hyper Offense as you can get. So there has to be some game plan to deal with these screens. And the game plan, I mean, it very well could be just overpower and do more damage, but it might not work.
Yep, we see opting for a Volt Switch again here to go ahead and bring this Pheromosa down to its Sash. And if this is a double up, that Pheromosa is probably not going to be living this turn. Or no, it wasn't, because we saw the Tailwind,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yep,
so now this Pheromosa and the Indeedee are going to go. The Tapu Fini coming in to go ahead and override the Psychic Terrain, likely trying to go ahead and block any kind of expanding force. But one interesting play could also be a Trick Room right here coming out from...
Yeah. Knowing that the Icy Wind is coming out, I would tend to guess no Trick Room coming out, as we do see the Icy Wind almost pick off the Tornadus. And now that it's -2, even though it's in Tailwind, it's still at its neutral speed, showing that Pheromosa would be faster.
Yep, we do see the expanding force. Not going to be doing a whole lot on that Tapu Fini, pretty bulky on the special side, and expanding force as a move is really nerfed when you don't have that Psychic Terrain up.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like we're probably going to see just a Taunt sacking off the Tornadus this turn. Because I assume there's really no move it can go for that will be of any... Or yeah, switching out would be the other option, knowing that the Icy Wind will just pick it off this turn, as we see it potentially switch into this Metagross.
That'd be an interesting play. Not really Pokemon you want to get an Icy Wind drop on if you don't happen to pick up the KO with that Fini.
Well, yeah, Metagross can't be Icy Wind dropped because of its Clear Body
ability. Of course, Clear Body. I keep thinking Tough Claws.
Oh yeah, if it was Mega Metagross, that would be...
Yeah, my mind's still stuck a little bit in 2018 with how you just wait till they Mega Evolve and then you start Intimidate spamming.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a very different metagame, but also very similar in the concept of finding a way to damage Metagross and reduce its damage output is very difficult.
Yep, and we do see here now at the +1 speed, or at the -1 speed from the Tapu Fini, that Pheromosa was actually faster than the Tapu Fini here, able to get an Electro Web off, dropping another speed onto it, and now it's at -3 speed plus Tailwind.
Yeah, this will be a very interesting turn here to see what Tigers chooses to go into, because potentially maxing the Heatran might be a better call than maxing the Dragonite. Although it's still going to be very difficult to deal with this Metagross with either of the Pokemon.
Yeah, you really do need to be able to go ahead here and set the Sun on one turn, live a Max Quake, and then return with the Sun up for you to have a shot at this Metagross. But even with the +1 from the Max Quake, that still starts to get a little dicey.
Yeah. And even something like a Max Quake, and we're going to see a switch out, but even something like a Max Quake into the Indeedee and a Calm Mind from Fini kind of makes the Tapu Fini unkillable at this point.
Yeah. So we do see the Tapu Fini go ahead and switch out, wanting to preserve that terrain for the very end here. We might just see So, okay, we do see the max coming out here from the Heatran in that heavy ball, which was much easier to catch it in than a lot of the other ones I've been hunting, I will note. So here we go. We have got the Dynamax Heatran here, likely going to be going to Set the Sun. Not sure which Pokemon it's going to be going into here.
Yeah, I would guess it goes into the Metagross, but it very well could just go into this Tapu Fini slot with something like a Steel Spike. Just predicting the Metagross Protect and not wanting to set its weakness policy off.
Ooh.
But as we see it into the Metagross.
It does a lot of damage through Protect.
Yeah.
Knowing here that you're gonna live one Max Quake from... Oh, no, now it's +2. This gets much dicier.
Yeah.
Yeah, so does a +2 Max Quake KO a Dynamax Heatran from full? I don't think that it does, actually, with Shuka.
I'm not 100% sure. Based on the damage we saw last game through Protect doing about 20 to 25%, I couldn't tell if that was a roll or if that was the actual damage amount.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens here.
Yep, so here we see the Air Slash go into this Indeedee right here. Not opting to go ahead and overwrite. We actually just see the Metagross go for the Earthquake. Perhaps here trying to proc the Shuka Berry this turn and take out the Indeedee at the same time. But if this Max Flare is going into this Metagross, it's gone.
Mm-hmm. And I presume that's what we'll be seeing. Yeah, as we do see that. An interesting position here now where it's pretty much just a Tapu Fini able to Dynamax. You could Dynamax the Regieleki potentially, but something like switching into the Tapu Fini, Dynamaxing and Starfalling into the Dragonite that's coming in, or even playing even a slower game, stalling out the max with putting your last screen up and getting Tailwind back up. It's going to be very difficult for Tigers to even get through this Fini, as I was saying a couple turns ago.
Yeah, and the Sun is going to be up for a couple turns, but that Fini can max, and if it's carrying Muddy Water, Scald, it can go ahead and overwrite that Sun. The first move won't be super effective. The other thing is, it doesn't feel like there's going to be quite enough time for it to sit there and calm Mind up before it Dynamaxes. It's just going to have to go directly for that Dynamax.
Mm-hmm. And even with that, it's still probably fine. Like with the Tailwind here and the Light Screen, you could potentially pick up 2 KOs, but even Dragonite plus Heatran probably is not enough in non-Dynamax form to deal with 3 Dynamax turns of Tapu Fini.
Yeah. So we see the Tailwind come out here from the Torn, and we're about to see what is most likely a Light Screen coming out from the Regieleki, going ahead and setting that for the next 7 turns, which is going to be incredibly hard for this Heatran to power through. We see the Thunder Punch into the Torn, going ahead and giving this switch right back into this Tapu Fini.
And I assume this Max Quake will pick up the Regieleki even through screens, but I could be, and it does.
Yep, Regieleki not really known for its defensive capabilities, mostly just that 200 base speed stat and the ability to go ahead and set some screens up very quickly.
One thing to note is that the Tapu Fini's already procced Citrus Berry, and with that Max Quake, both of Tiger's Pokemon have gotten a special defense boost, making it potentially a little bit easier to deal with Tapu Fini.
Yeah. So we do see the Misty Surge. I don't think that's really going to have a ton of impact in the remainder of this game, as this Dragonite's not going to be clicking any Dragon moves into this Tapu Fini.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure if this Dragonite does have a Dragon move. Based off seeing Thunder Punch and seeing, have we seen Max Airstream? I just assume it has it.
We have not seen Max Airstream. We saw Max Lightning, and we did see Max Wormem, so it does in fact carry a Dragon move, because that went into the Tapu Fini in Game 1. So we see a Turn 1 Protect here from this Tapu Fini. Looks like it's going to go ahead and try and stall some of the turns of this Sun out, as well as baiting out that Protect from the Dragonite. All but ensuring a Max Starfall will KO this next turn.
Yeah. But my question is, will it actually KO? Because if we see Starfall go in, and Dragonite's a pretty bulky Pokemon even without any investment, especially with the +1 special defense, is there a chance it survives? That would be Tigers' 1 out.
Yeah, for sure. If this Dragonite does live this turn, there's a good chance that the combination of a Thunder Punch into Flash Cannon, especially maybe if you start getting some Flash Cannon special defense drops, could start to spiral in favor of Tigers.
Mm-hmm. We do see the Starfall come out immediately into this Dragonite, and will it KO? The answer is...
No, it doesn't. That Dragonite lived relatively comfortably. So we see the Thunder Punch here, and the Flash Cannon doing no kinds of damage, and the Sunlight has now faded. So, oh hey, thanks for the follow. K-Man. That's my best attempt at it.
I'm not sure on that one.
Putting numbers in the middle of names, and I get really bad, and I apologize for that. We are here with the ATX VGC Monday Night Friendlies. We're commentating our very first of the best of threes for the night. We have 5 currently planned. Right now we got Hagen versus White Tigers here in Game 2, what could be a decisive Game 2 if Hagen is able to continue to clinch this out.
Yeah. And as far as these friendlies go, there are 5 tonight, and we have selected the 5 people who are playing in them. But if you are interested in playing in the friendlies in the future, if you click !Discord in the chat, it'll give you a link to the Discord and to the signups, which go up every single Thursday at 11 a.m. And if you sign up, you'll have a pretty good chance of playing, especially as a newer player. And it'll be very exciting to see who's playing next week.
Yep. So here we see the Max Geyser coming out from Hagen, revealing that. I think it's the first time we've seen a water move from this Feeny, doing almost no damage through that Protect there onto this Heatran. So now Heatran's going to have the ability to try and face down this Tapu Fini after Dynamax. Question is, what is the water move this is based off of? Because a Muddy Water miss right now could be incredibly unfortunate.
Yeah, Muddy Water is just about the worst move on both ends luck-wise that you can get.
Yeah.
The only one I can think of that's worse is potentially Hurricane with the 70% accuracy and the 30% chance to confuse, but we do see the Muddy Water connect with its 85% accuracy and take out this Heatran.
Yep, in the rain, even with that +1 special defense, Heatran not going to be enough to hold on through that Muddy Water as Hagen goes ahead and cleans it up here in the very first best of 3 of the night here with our ATX VGC Monday Night Friendlies.
Yeah, and good games of both these players. It was really interesting to see both the Dragonite and more of your standard team with the Regieleki Metagross Feeny, and then your kind of creative team with the Dragonite, and it was interesting to see how they matched up.
Yeah, for sure. I think that both players played that matchup really well and adjusted really well in Game 2. Definitely interested to see kind of what else these players continue to iterate on these teams as we go forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same. I'm really interested to see how Pheromosa kind of deals with this metagame. I know at Top Cut, one of the Players' Cup qualifiers, I'm not sure which region, but I did see it Top Cut with Speed Swap with Ice Horse, and so that was pretty interesting. So I'd love to see where that goes from here.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, you like that video? We think you should check this out, and YouTube thinks you should check this one out. And be sure to subscribe for more content.